Today at the National Press Club, the doyen of Australia's food scene, Maggie Beer AO has been at the helm of the Maggie Beer Foundation for a decade, advocating for the health of older Australians by transforming the food in aged care homes. Chef and author Maggie Beer with today's National Press Club address.
Good afternoon and welcome to the National Press Club Westpac address. My name is Emma MacDonald and I am the Camera Convener of Women in Media and the Associate Editor of Her Canberra. Today's speaker is a national treasure, Maggie Beer, a cook and an entrepreneur who has made quince paste an absolute necessity for any half-decent cheese platter across the country. Now she's turning her attention to campaigning to make every mouthful count for our vulnerable and elderly residents of the aged care sector across Australia. I would like to warmly acknowledge the presence here of Her Excellency, the Honourable Sam Mostyn, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia. And I would also like to warmly acknowledge Sam Ray, the Federal Minister for Ageing and Seniors. He is new to the portfolio, of course, so you're not to be blamed for anything that you might hear today. It also bodes well for the sector that you have travelled up from Melbourne on a non-sitting week because you want to listen to what Maggie Beer has to say. Now, if anyone wants to join the conversation online, please use the handle @PressClubAust and the hashtag is NPC. Join me in warmly welcoming Maggie Beer.
Oh, thank you, Emma. I acknowledge that I am speaking on Ngunnawal and Ngambri land, and I pay my respects to their elders, indeed all elders, past, present and emerging. I'm so grateful for the presence of our Maggie Beer Foundation patron, Her Excellency the Honourable Sam Mostyn, AC, Governor-General to the Commonwealth of Australia. I'm so proud to have you as our patron. And important guests, which encompasses every one of you, by the way, and most especially I thank the National Press Club and Women in Media for the opportunity to speak today. What a chance to connect with you all. For me, it's as frightening as exciting. But what I want to say, I'm not in the kitchen today, but Chef Daryl, your team, the team has done just what I hoped for. You have embraced the challenge and presented a lunch that my foundation chefs will be serving to residents that work at the coalface with the Trainer Mentor program, work at the coalface with the teams in aged care, full of flavour and aroma and accessible and affordable and full of the right levels of nutrition. So thank you so much. I applaud you. I'm sure everyone in this room knows my world is food. And yes, I can be extravagant if you pass the caviar and truffles in season at the moment for special occasions. And yet I am as aligned with and passionate about accessible, simple, fresh seasonal food. And that's how I live my life in the Barossa. Food full of flavour and goodness to please the eye, the heart and the body. And choice I would like to see everyone to have the chance of. And this takes more than ingredients or the measure of nutrition. It takes a love of food, skill and confidence, and a realisation of when those parameters are met. It is the most immediate route to well-being of the residents in aged care, and it will give positive energy and pride to the kitchen that can be a catalyst to spread right through the home. Now, you might expect an 80-year-old to be conservative, but don't be fooled. I am both rebellious and persistent, and even dogged, my family might say. This drive I have to find every way I can influence society, not just government and providers, but society, to raise the bar of food in aged care, came to the fore after being made Senior Australian of the Year in 2010. Totally changed my life. And it gave me a platform And one of the 900 requests I had to speak that year was a keynote to the annual Aged Care Conference, 1,000 CEOs in Hobart. And so to prepare, I did a lot of research and I visited a lot of homes. And before anything gets said, I need to put on the table, there are great homes in Australia. There are great homes and we should celebrate that, be proud of them. But without putting too fine a point on it, I was often appalled by what I saw in others. So now, the platform. I have now the responsibility to undertake the mission. And that talk wasn't well received, by the way, but several threads came through that life-changing. And really, when in 2010, after that talk and after that pushback, I actually made an appointment to go and see Mark Butler, who was at the time Minister for Ageing. Remember, this was 2011 by now. And I had this great idea to suggest to him that we lift the bar of food in aged care by celebrating the great people, using them as templates and giving them the kudos they deserve. He said, "Good idea, no funds." Yet, have you heard that? Yet as we talked about it, it was clear that this portfolio was one he cared deeply about. Next step, I joined a state-run board for aged care and tried to influence through that vehicle. I shared my ideas with them about the immediate needs I saw, which at the time was skill training and budget, still. And that board was disbanded, and the CEO of the department, knowing of the things I wanted to do, suggested that I should form a foundation in my name. It wasn't ego, by the way. It was my name because of Australia-wide, my connection to food was well known. And so I brought a board together of people much smarter than myself, academics, business heads, financial people, strategists. So we went. And at the time, eating well was simply lacked priority in aged care. It was all about care and medical model, and food was an afterthought. And I wore a lot of heat for saying that in the early days, but it was never the case for me about damning. It was all I wanted to do was tackle it with what can we do to bring about change. And I saw how tough it was. And when it comes to food, I knew I had something to share. So I set about absorbing as much knowledge as I could from health professionals, academic papers and journals, I'm a reader, all the ideas, and then the recipes that I wanted to work with, I always was thinking flavour and pleasure as well as nutritional needs. Our original vision of the foundation was about advocacy, education skills, training and research. Our first masterclass in 2015, with a grant from an insurance company, we flew over 30 cooks and chefs from Victoria and from all over that state. And if you could imagine what Virgin went through with the knives of 30 chefs all coming together. But at that masterclass, it set the beginning of what we could do. I brought together dietitians, speech pathologists, even an auditor to debunk myths, garden specialists, all to inform cooks and chefs who so often worked in a vacuum with little support and no specialised training and felt they had no voice. I cooked with them, sharing methods to maximise flavour and also maximise the use of their equipment. I challenged them to cook for us MasterChef style with all the fresh ingredients the dietitian had identified as important to nutritional needs, and I judged them. But most importantly, we heard from each of them the brick walls that they encountered, which gave us a game plan of the highest priorities to tackle in planning the next steps of training. And what I did learn from them is and my own experience, there were low expectations, a malady in itself as it leads to the absence of ambition, including and especially about food. It creeps up on us, and they have so many issues to cope with, and they're working so hard. And in truth, many of the residents were of an era where food was perhaps less important than it is to us today. And they often had had hard and simple lives, were very accepting of what was on offer, and grateful they were being looked after, and didn't feel they could ask for more. But what was missing was not only the joy in food, but the real belief in most places that beautiful food will make such a difference to the well-being of residents and pride of the teams. And without those equal amounts of flavour, goodness and pleasure, food becomes a commodity. Food becomes institutionalised and leads to residents not eating well or not eating enough, and that leads to malnutrition. There has been so much happening from so many quarters since the Royal Commission, and its final report was named that food was an urgent priority needing immediate attention. Today, the average spend is $15, a far cry from the $7.50 a day that was discussed in a lot of the evidence at the Royal Commission. So I pay tribute to the efforts of aged care providers, clinicians, the government, the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission for stepping up to the plate. At the request of the Department of Health, the Foundation brought 120 stakeholders together in 2021, the very first National Congress on Food and Dining in Aged Care, with every element attending. And if I could tell you that collaborative effort of us all in the room for several days came to 56 findings and 139 possible actions. That's how much collectively they saw had to be done to improve the lives of residents in aged care. And I've got a 50-page report if you're interested. Yes, there is much to do, but it's within our grasp, particularly working collaboratively, but it needs that constant attention. And it's not a surprise that top of the list of those findings were food, nutrition, and the dining experience was an urgent issue. So where are we now, and what matters most for the future? Well, to anchor this conversation in the same core principle as started 11 years ago, it will start with the joy of food. Food is not a pill to be swallowed or a care task to be ticked off, a prescription to be filled. And whilst food is about nutrition, it's so much more than that, because food creates an appetite for life and continues to be the mission of the Foundation. And as far as we have come, and we are definitely in the weeds making so much happen, so much still. And the three frontiers of the Foundation right now are the need for accredited training for aged care cooks and chefs from a national perspective. The Foundation's current training for cooks and chefs, so important, and I'll tell you about. And then our next mission, older people living at home and how their lives about food could be more. Firstly, the need for accredited training. Perhaps the surest sign that food in aged care has been a low priority is the fact that there is no accredited training available anywhere in Australia. We know there's training for all other elements of cooking, yet can I tell you that being a cook or chef in aged care is possibly the hardest and one of the most important catering jobs in Australia. Not only, though, is there no specialised knowledge of the complexities of aged care available within the training of commercial cooks, there is no minimum standard at all for someone to be a cook or chef in aged care home, and will only achieve great food, and great food is simple food, that's adapted to meet the diverse cultural, clinical and nutritional needs of each older person, when we have a workforce that is trained and fired up to deliver the best. And we must train that workforce responsible for it from the position of a love of food and the difference in life this can make to all. And I'm a born optimist. And I would love to see it as a vocation, not a job, a cause, not an occupation. And it really can be, and I hear when it is, and it's amazing. Cooks and chefs and kitchen teams are at the heart of the solution everywhere. And if we prepare them, and I am determined to see a full suite of accredited training, first with that core knowledge requirements for this specialised field, right through eventually to a diploma to give a real career path. And recently, the National Skills Board, responsible for cooks and chefs in aged care, Service and Creative Skills Australia, nominated work on culinary skills for aged care as a focus. Fabulous. We have just concluded work with TAFE SA to undertake a training needs analysis for the workforce. And we're thankful to the South Australian government this time because the work is giving us evidence, and we need that to get national attention and traction. And in Victoria, William Anglis, they're doing great things too, and these are early steps. But while these studies are happening, because we know it takes time, we have an underprepared workforce. There is a huge need for confidence with texture modification, the ability to work directly with clinical staff and actively engage residents in menu planning, tasting and choice, understand how to maximise flavour as they cook, and the chemistry of food really, and how to adapt the needs of their residents, and understanding the efficient running of a kitchen. And all of these have been nominated as gaps. Training is essential, but the level of training has got to be at the highest level, not only of specialised knowledge, but delivered with such energy to lift the outcomes for the cooks and chefs, all working so hard, because all of us in this room, some of us already there, others in this room, we want it to be exactly as we want it for ourselves, being selfish. And food that isn't eaten will never give nutrition. I doubt anyone would question we need this specialised training, but also, to be fair, not only to the kitchens, but management of aged care, because the frustration will always be, how long will this take to be in practice as a national program? So now to the Foundation's current training for cooks and chefs. And I have to say, in the meantime, and perhaps forever, is the need for practical training, and none better than when it occurs at the coalface, under this unwieldy name but so important, Improving Food in Aged Care Through Education and Training. It's game-changing and happening because of the 3-year grant from the federal government. And there are 4 elements of this. We have 17 online modules of knowledge specific to aged care cooks that I have filmed in my ditzy way, as chaotic and always with someone behind me getting the proper work done. We have over 7,000 cooks and chefs that have downloaded that. We have virtual hubs around the country, 26 of them so far, 176 homes have been part of that, 200 aged care chefs, and the next hub is on September the 3rd and still open for any aged care providers who are in the room. So, and one of the most important things, our virtual moderated professional community for cooks and chefs. I said they often work in a vacuum, and this is a one-stop shop for aged care dining success, recipes and resources. We add new content twice a week. We have and all have access to our newsletters, forum articles, and we moderate a forum to share ideas and respond to questions from cooks and chefs in various homes and from us as a foundation. And we have about 100 recipes up there at the moment, and each of them is planned for 20, 40, 60, 120. And can I tell you, we've got 300 more almost ready to go, and every Wednesday in the Barossa, my daughter Ellie's restaurant that's closed that day, we invade, and one of our chefs, Mark McNamara, cooks 10 to 12 recipes on that day, and I taste every one of them. And the overview is always the flow of the kitchen, the accessibility, the affordability, what will please the residents, and what can be cooked for 120 residents or more. And can I tell you that every one of those dishes I am proud to put on my kitchen table at home. That's what I want for everybody. So, our learning hubs, I've already told you that, September 3. I want to give you a detailed picture of what I see as the creme de la creme of our foundation training. In my mind, the most effective possible, so I so want to see this continued. So drum roll. Our trainer mentor program, I've mentioned it in passing, but it works like some of you might have seen on the ABC program, My Big Mission, and it was. And I wish that was available for every home in Australia, the trainer mentor program, that is. We have 13 chefs across Australia, skilled chefs with specialised aged care knowledge and natural communication that are both teachers and mentors to the homes they work with. And they work side by side with the kitchen team to build trust and rapport really quickly and to share the knowledge and demonstrate the skills at the stove that will make such a difference to all. It's a 12-month program. And aged care homes had to apply to be part of it, and they were put through a selection process from an independent voluntary board as to their commitment and the gaps or special needs of their home, so that our chefs sort of hit the ground running. And their first entry was from a Tuesday to Saturday, so the weekend team was also embraced. And because they knew so much about the home before they entered, immediately sharing knowledge and tackling the big issues. And this is then followed up with agreed upon commitments, and our trainer chef were spending, up to 16 days in each home over that next year, that both allows the learnings to be embedded and the management accountable to continuous improvement, continued engagement, as our graduating homes are attesting. Every home is different, so it's identifying and filling gaps for all, but their main categories are in every home. Menu planning, cooking essentials, I've got to hurry, texture modified foods, managing efficient kitchens, working to involve the residents, working on the dining experience and food presentation, and the incorporation of choice in dining, embracing the residents to be involved in contributing to their community by the doing of tasks, a sense of purpose. And we simply, I love this Montessori quote, everything you do for me, you take from me. Giving independence and purpose is so important. We simply have not got the capacity to meet demand, and our current funding ends in September next year, where 135 homes will be through this program. Now, every day we get a new inquiry. 135 homes doesn't sound much, but believe you me, the filtering down effect is there. So I hope you can see what we are trying to do. We are building a proud workforce of cooks, chefs and kitchen teams who love what they do, are clever at what they do and deliver great food every day in residential aged care. And their pride and energy transmits directly to the residents' pleasure and well-being. And we, the Foundation, myself personally, advocating fiercely for it to continue. But there is more. Older people living at home is our next big mission, I mentioned. Most older people don't live in aged care homes, and many frail older people live alone. And we know that malnutrition is an increasing risk as we age. And we need to guard against that with those choosing to live at home and being independent, just what we want, but sometimes without support. And we all know the many reasons, I'm sure, in this room of how malnutrition can occur. But it's the lack of interest in food and cooking and the lack of not only motivation, particularly when alone, but not knowing what their nutritional needs are to support their well-being and what they should be cooking, eating, and it can so easily lead to reduced mobility, fatigue, frailty, and all those other complications. And I've come across people, women particularly, I must say, in the community, when losing a partner, thinking they are not worth worrying about food, and so toast and Vegemite at night. And it's not just losing their zest for cooking, which is really there, the loss of it, but their belief that they don't matter, even though they've cooked from scratch all their life and been proud of that till now. So we've been gathering ideas and recipes that would be within the reach of the home, the person home alone, to make it so simple, so affordable, so nutritious and so full of flavour, and reaching out to other organisations also working on this. And we need to gather real data to know the perspectives of older people and develop a criteria for success framework. And that will need to consider different options and models and form recommendations on what we can do next. And we're thrilled that the Wicking Trust is supporting us in this research. We know this lack of nutritional knowledge of how much protein all through the day is building blocks, how significant dairy is, how good boiled eggs are if you can't be bothered cooking, but make it 2 boiled eggs. And all of this must be, we need the way of working with that, and we have ideas. The Foundation has so many others supporting us, and these, particularly with these guidelines for older people, that is really important. But it will take time. It's in the government's hands, and it will take time to come through, because an older person needs a different nutritional content than a younger, and that's just not known. And there are other messages, by the way, that people have learnt in midlife. Sugar and fat may not be the enemy as you age, because their role in flavour delivery is so important. We know from overseas studies that some older people feel that a low weight is positive, but weight loss in our 80s and 90s could be downright dangerous. And there will be, there's much more. I've got so much more to say. But as we are doing with the cooks and chefs and want this battalion of people who care so much, are trained so well, we would love to do more to encourage research. But we're not a research institute, and we run a very lean show. And there's no money for us to be funders, but whatever influence we have to champion research as a vital part of driving awareness about the importance of good food as we age. For me, huge importance of championing fresh food, and I'll do all I can to keep the passion alive for the use of fresh food, always the preferred option, and we can help, the Foundation can help with the ideas to make this possible. Fresh, real ingredients provide flavour that frozen never can, and we can show aged care homes that cooking fresh actually does not cost more. However, only if supported by the skill set, passion and knowledge and support of management, it is all possible. Because I know there's so little money to spare within aged care homes, but training, there is so much to be done. And the government has been a great support. We have people that have supported us in philanthropy and in the community in this small and very significant way. But you know, aged care isn't sexy for most. It is me. But our responsible here is we have within our grasp to make this simple, beautiful food, and our aim is to hope that everyone in society, community, will believe in this. At the heart of my message and the work of the Foundation is a desire to keep the excitement, joy, and anticipation alive throughout our lives, and to understand that in doing so, we will optimise the vital nutritional intake that is so important as we age. We must never again forget that food, good, flavoursome, nutritious food, enjoyed and eaten, is central to our well-being, whether in an aged care home or living alone. It must never be an afterthought. It must never be thought of as fuel. Eating well is ageing well and give us the joy that will give us the strength, the muscle mass to be involved in exercise, to continue doing as much as we can to retain independence and to feel purpose and connection. And there is such an increased motivation amongst aged care providers, government and regulators to do better. We have Standard 6 that the government should feel this is so important that we have a new standard coming out November the 1st. It's wonderful. I am so proud of the team of the Foundation, the repository of knowledge and professionalism of our projects, and we have independent assessment by Health Consult of everything we do. It's not just me telling you how wonderful we are, but what I expect from conversations, there's a report that's in draft and I'm waiting to be able to promulgate that, the official assessment. But what I expect is the feedback of the high demand and the videos that have been shared with the department of the efficacy of this program and the joy that it's brought is beyond bursting my heart. But as such, I can't bear to think of it as being lost. It's so very valuable. So you can be sure I will be advocating fiercely again to the government to support the program. But the wider community need to be part of solutions. Never forget the community and all of our responsibilities. I'm hopeful that the conversation today and the conversation in the community, now so much louder in understanding the importance of this and how, as I said, both society and philanthropy and government all be part of the solution. Community involvement is so vital to us. We need to make sure that this new Aged Care Standard 6 is interpreted as it is intended, and that food in aged care is never dumbed down, and the focus remains on the joy of food. Just to repeat myself, eating well is the foundation of aging well, and we must never let We must never let food and the process of preparing, presenting, and eating it become perfunctory. And if we don't have the training for those people working so hard, that cannot happen. So many people to thank, particularly those who have given so much knowledge and energy voluntarily to our foundation, and the incredible skill in our small team, and to my family who cope with my obsession. I thank you for listening. There is so much to do, but we can do it. Thank you.
Maggie, thank you for that wonderful address, delivered with your warmth and passion. We do appreciate it, and there's still time to get some points across through the questions. I will just ask the very first question. If you could make one change urgently tomorrow, what would best support the delivery of better food across our aged care system?
One has got to be expanded, but I'll be quick. Firstly,
you don't need to be quick, these are the questions.
Oh, okay. In an aged care home, I've learned that often the most skilled person, as the chef, the exec chef, is burdened by paperwork and ordering and scheduling and rostering. We should put quartermasters in for that position, because training, we're so desperate for this training, and that's where some of it could be happening, because training at the stoves is the most important thing. But the board and management to step back and ask themselves, is this good enough? That is such an important question. Some internal audit. Is there low-hanging fruit that we could pick up on? Do we have the dining room, the most beautiful room in the house, to encourage that dining experience? And to give the chef a line of communication with the management that he doesn't, or she, sorry, I'm just thinking of one in particular, that they don't have to go through several levels to advocate for a piece of equipment. I've heard of you know, well, no, I'm not doing any negative ones. But also identify the gaps in skill and give the teams the time and access to computers to do the online training. Be surprised how many kitchen people don't have access to computers to be able to do this. So there are things there, and remember the regional hub is open September 3, so they've got to be really, it's a suite of things, isn't it? But all of them important.
Yes. Now, our next question is from Kat Wong from AAP.
Thank you so much for your address today, Ms. Beer. First of all, I wanted to ask, so this morning on the radio you said that within aged care we need more chefs who are passionate about maximising flavour.
Yeah.
But, you know, as you said, cooking for an aged care home is maybe not the sexiest option for those kinds of chefs. Many of them would prefer to work somewhere like a Michelin star restaurant, or I guess something with a bit more prestige per se. So how do you incentivise those people to, you know, want to work in those aged care homes? And also a second question, if I may.
Oh,
sorry.
Can I answer the first before I forget it? Okay, I love that question, and it is there are so many things. I actually brought with me a pile of feedback from the chefs that have done the training, and this one who put it so succinctly, he said, "My friends wonder why I'm not working in a top restaurant anymore, but there are the challenges and the rewards in aged care." And he also said, but it will take a while for the perception of this to change. But I want to tell everyone, because these are all the things that I learned from the trainer mentor. So if you give people pride and knowledge and a path, you will get people in, because it is the most rewarding thing to be able to cook for those in aged care and have it be loved by the residents and see that well-being. So now you can do the second question.
That's really beautiful. I guess the other thing I wanted to ask was, obviously food is not only personal to you, but also very political. And I think it's hard to think about and consider food and malnutrition without thinking about the fact that Israel on the other side of the world is using starvation as a method of war as per human rights organisations. I wanted to ask if you had any comment on that.
The fact that anyone is not able to access food for life is a distress to me. Could I leave it at that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Simon Gross from Canberra IQ.
Thank you very much, Emma. You started your speech thanking the chefs here for producing a dish of your making.
Yes.
That is available or recommended for aged care homes.
Yes.
It was a free-range Borrowdale pork belly.
Okay.
Marinated in Seville orange marmalade with smoked potato puree, pea, broad bean, chickpea, mint and dill salad with the quince juice. Now, let me finish. It's upstairs, available in the restaurant and the bar for $30.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. The beans were... you really have to chew the bean. So two things. How would an aged care home fit things like that, like free-range pork, fit that into their costs? And how do they adapt that recipe for people who have lousy teeth?
Good question, and I'm happy to take it with gusto.
Good.
Because that recipe I have cooked in an aged care home in Western Australia and without those extra trimmings. It wasn't one of the things we do, particularly when we're planning all these recipes, is we buy what is available in mass-produced food. So I'm very careful of that. Because we're in Canberra and because the chef had really wanted to please me, he did the free range thing. He added the quince, but the essence of that recipe is being cooked in an aged care home at an affordable price, accessible and able to do for 120 people without problems. I've done it at the stoves myself.
Okay, so for a smaller home, it wouldn't work?
Yes, no. All the recipes we do are written for either 20, 40, 60 or 120.
Okay.
And they're all like shopping lists for that number of people, as well as all the ideas of what's going to make it easier. And yes, it was my Seville marmalade today, and that was the chef also being very nice to me. But we, at Meath in Perth, I made it with just the marmalade out of a can that we opened that was that big, and it was beautiful. It is the method of cooking that is as important here. It's how you develop flavour by understanding cooking methods and understanding your equipment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question and a great answer, Maggie. Now, Julie Hare from the AFR, Australian Financial Review.
Thank you so much for your speech, Maggie. It was really enjoyable. I think we have the beginnings of a TV show here. So, aged care home, chefs, all go in the residence, so the judges, and they go through to the top. I'd like to come back to training and the fact there's no accredited training or minimum standards for cooking in aged care. As we know, the aged care sector is largely staffed by international students and temporary migrants. So it's got a very transitional nature to it. So how do we factor that transitional nature of that workforce, which I assume includes in kitchens, into what your big ideas are?
Yes. So many questions that are so important. I worked for five or 6 months in an aged care home 1 week a month while I was doing the ABC Big Mission, right? And I worked with every nationality you could imagine. And it had been a transitory workforce. But once you engage them, everybody wants to do something well, and when they get that immediate feedback and they have the training and they have the feeling that they're doing something important, those people don't want to leave. So we have to do a lot more about looking after the team, both with the training, which I keep on saying, I know, but also giving them access, the kitchen team, access to the residents. So they get that feedback. They know they're doing something well. Because one of the things that I did find at first with chefs is, and management, they are scared they're going to lose a person because it's transitory, so they don't ask enough of them. And that is the negative of what it should be, because once you give more knowledge, you give more pride. So, yeah, I'm thinking of it.
Thank you. Next question is Corey McLeod from the National Press Club.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Corey McLeod from innovationoz.com, and I'm going to ask you a question about innovation. 3D printing, you mentioned research before, texture-modified food. What are the sort of innovative ways that people are looking at solving the problem of nutrition, taste, deliverable?
Okay. Innovation is a wonderful thing, and I know Edith Cowan University is doing some great work on 3D printing of texture-modified food. I would like to say the innovation I would like to see, there is a great fear amongst cooks and chefs if they're doing it properly, because ITSE has these 5 levels, is it 5, that they have to have exact measurements of what is safe. And so the fear is there that they're not doing it right. When you get a speech pathologist who has this ability to think outside of the square, working with the kitchen staff, both training them and encouraging them, to me, you might not see that as innovation, but I do, and the most important thing. But we must keep every other level of innovation going too. And I've tasted the 3D printing, and I mean, I'm an old girl, but I still am in awe of what it can do. But my best innovation is my speech therapist in the kitchen with the cooks and chefs, giving them the confidence and knowledge and the approval of what they're doing.
Thank you so much.
Next question is Misha Schubert from the National Press Club.
Hello, Maggie. Thanks for a terrific speech and outing myself as a Greenock girl from family lineage.
So, Valley.
Yes, indeed. Look, South Australia, it's got its diaspora everywhere, hasn't it? Thank you for the joy that you bring to this conversation in our national life and for using your profile to raise these issues. I wondered if I could ask you, sparked by part of your speech where you talked about, particularly for older people when they've lost a partner and they stop thinking I'm worth it.
Yes.
What do you want to say to that community of older people who perhaps think, oh, it's just not worth bothering if it's just me? What do you want to say to them about their worth?
What I want to do is engage them with how simple it could be that they would get so much pleasure from, as well as well-being. But I want to sort of, how do I get that zest back? I've got to find those ways. It's in its infancy, but the ideas I have in my head are because I've experienced that with people that I know well in the Riverland community, for instance. And I want to go and cook with her, this person that is in my mind. I can't do that across Australia, but there could be other ways of being able to connect. And I want to connect with them and say, you are worth having a good life to the end of your life, and without good food, it's not going to be possible. And without the joy of food, yes.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you. Next question is April Glover from the 9 Network.
Hello, Ms. Beer. Thank you for being here today. You spoke a lot about how choice and personalised menus is key to good food in aged care homes. The early days of moving a parent or grandparent into an aged care home can be really stressful and traumatic, particularly for those who may have dementia or Alzheimer's and don't want to be there nor understand why they're there. How do you think familiar, exciting or good food can make this process a lot easier?
There is no doubt we lose the sense of taste sometimes as we age. one of the most evocative things is a sense of smell that stays with us, and smell that links to good memories. And so for me, to be able to walk through a garden with plants and touching the basil and the rosemary and smelling the kitchen, the real food being cooked, and having a lovely dining room where you can look out and think, this is my home now, but these are the things that are going to make it different. And dementia is living with dementia is so hard, but I can tell you those instincts are still there, and that's my way in, I feel. But also encouraging them to do everything they can for themselves. When you give purpose, and it's just extraordinary. I've seen it happen. And it doesn't matter if you polish the glasses 5 times. You're doing, and so you're being part of looking after your own community. It's never going to be easy, but all those things can make such a difference.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is Nip Wijurekwama from Women in Media.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Beer. That was amazing. My name is Nip, and I run a florist that employs people with disabilities in Canberra, and we're also an NDIS provider. And I see categorically the same issues that you're facing in aged care happening and being replicated in the NDIS. Group homes, participants living independently, doing amazing things, but also their nutritional goals are just not there as well. Can you come to the NDIS field? Because I hear you don't have enough work. I'll be, for someone like me, low-hanging fruit, but I really see all of this happening before my very eyes with participants just here in Canberra, so I can't imagine what's happening around Australia. What would your advice be to me?
NDIS, gosh, it is a world I know so little about, but can I say that I presume that you have carers that go into the home. If I could engage those carers to understand the food that will make a difference to the person that they are caring for in terms of nutritional, but also ideas, simple, quick ideas of how to put things together. That's comes down to training and sharing knowledge. And I think there are a body of people I really would love to get to. But I am 80 and I've promised my husband I will slow down sometime.
One day. Thank you.
Thanks, Nip. Next question is Ginger Gorman from Women in Media.
Hi, Maggie. Thank you for that wonderful address and just for your infectious love for food. I'm a foodie myself. This is such an important conversation about aged care, and you painted this incredible picture about what good food can bring to aged care. But I wonder how you see that as just one piece of the puzzle, because we've also got really substantial issues around safety, protection, dignity. You talked about independence, purpose and connection. So there's all these other pieces to the puzzle. How do you see that coming together? I know it's a big question.
It is a big question, but what I saw firsthand is when the carers and the nurses were involved with the kitchen staff to understand about, I was going to say explaining, but the meals to the residents, but engaging with them. And when the carers understood that they shouldn't do everything for the residents, they should allow them to do things for themselves. That was a really important thing that I learned. But food is the centre of the plate, but without everything that goes around it, which are having every part of a team. Management has a huge responsibility to bring everyone on this journey of the difference they can make. And without music, without gardens, without visitors, without the ability to have your visitors eat with you, all of the... It's such a big question. It's such a big question, but if people feel good about themselves because they are have that focus and have that reason to get out of bed in the morning, rather than being passive recipients of just being looked after. Food is my first way of doing it, but everyone has to be involved.
Yeah. Thank you, Maggie.
Before our next question, I just wanted to ask, you mentioned in your speech that the current group of aged care residents, they're fairly low demand in terms of the food they eat. Plain food, they don't think they're worthy. Dare I say that the next generation of aged care residents are going to be a little more picky, a little more food savvy and a little more demanding, or is that just me?
No, of course. And I think aged care know that's happening. We have the baby boomers that will come into aged care, but I don't want them to wait until then. I want them to be doing it right now. But, there is a misconception that because someone has not had a foodie life, they don't want anything different. That is wrong. When you give them flavour and that burst of aroma, and don't use a fancy name to explain what dish it is, and have the care staff know, they love it.
Next question is Michelle Ainsworth from Women in Media.
Hi Maggie, I'm Michelle Ainsworth from the Women in Media Committee here. I'm also a recent Churchill Fellow, so I wanted to say thank you for your sponsorship for that program, because it's a great program. If I could just get that in. This is a bit of a how to solve the world kind of question, a bit like NIPS, but following on. You rightly highlight that malnutrition is a serious problem in older Australians in nursing homes and people living at home. At the same time, older women 55 plus are the fastest growing group experiencing homelessness in Australia. How do you extend your wellbeing mission to that growing cohort in Australia? No pressure.
No pressure. How I wish. I'm very aware of that. And you could add also women who are experiencing bad situations in the home, and that's where community has to be so involved. And I know in the Barossa we have a Barossa Foundation, and they try and target helping those in need. And you're right, there is this group of women particularly in need. But I wish I could do everything. I really do. But you, as a Churchill Fellow, was that your study?
No, I looked at the global decline in democracy.
Okay, well, the next one, all right, the next one you apply for has got to be exactly that. With your knowledge, you go into that, because it's important and we must address it. Thank you.
The next question is from a wonderful local food personality and ABC journalist, Emma Bickley.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Maggie. It's a delight to have you here. I didn't think I could love you any more than when you were a judge on the Great Australian Bake Off, but you have surpassed that well and truly with your commitment to nutrition in aged care and a love of food that never ends. Recently, my husband and I became carers for my elderly mum. I hate to use the term elderly. She's 87 years young, but she's a widow and she doesn't really speak English or drive, so we take care of her a lot, and she takes care of us too, which is beautiful. But what I've noticed, when she came, she's in our home a lot of the time, and the doctor said to us, you have to keep giving her purpose. Don't do everything for her, right? Yeah, I know you love this. And so that's how the area of our backyard that on the landscape plans used to say simple shrubs now has tomatoes and fig trees and chickens, and we are all the richer for it. And I now have afternoon teas with a bunch of women over 80 who come over, and I make sure that they're drinking their water and eating their veggies. So I'm well on the same page as you. If you have a job going, give me a call. But I also, Maggie, I struggle because in my home there's an 11 and a 12-year-old. There's a husband who grew up in rural New South Wales, had never seen a person who speaks another language until he met me. And so the divide between sauerkraut and Greek yogurt and polenta and smoked pork ribs with tacos and burrito bowls and poke bowls and things like that is hard. And I wonder, I know this must be a logistical nightmare, but how do we incorporate a a bit of multicultural Australia into your plans? Sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing. In our Croatian community, one of the things people struggle with is they go into a home and for the first time in their life, they're eating shepherd's pie and things that they don't know, and they feel so out of place, and they no longer have anyone to cook for. They're not allowed in the kitchen, which was their lifeblood, and they don't even have a garden to look at. Thank you.
Oh, that is so important. And can I tell you, some of the best homes I've been into have been Italian or Greek or Vietnamese, because the culture of food is so strong and so important, and let that be everywhere. And yes, there are things that we have to, the difficulty is when there is a very small number of a different nationality and with a lot of Anglo-Saxons.
Yep.
And we encourage the chefs, and we are working on the fact that these cultural needs must be met. But that takes training, and it takes an understanding, and it takes knowing a resident as well. That's where you have this exchange happening that is so important. And encouraging gardens. And it doesn't matter if someone has, your mother not, but someone who has dementia and picks the vegetables out of the garden and puts them back in another place. It doesn't matter. It's got to be set up that it's there to give joy, as well as to grow vegetables and use them in the kitchen, which requires just a few steps in the procedure manual. So I'm with you, and the luck of your mum and yourself and your children is true intergenerational living.
Thanks, Maggie. Love your work.
Thank you. We're nearly at the end, Maggie. We've got Nick Stewart from Ability News.
Here in Canberra, we're all focused on the Productivity Commission next week. Are you saying there's something more than simple productivity? Are you saying that quality matters as well? And is integration really the key between getting plenty of quality well done?
Couldn't agree more. But what you have to do first, if I bring it back to an aged care kitchen, is the training has got to be there so the kitchen can run to its greatest efficiency in the simplest matter, making it simpler for the kitchen teams, to give them more time, to give that extra level of attention, of care, of love, if you like, in the food. You have to have that joy. You have to have the joy. It's more important, but you have to give people the space to be able to have that time, because I said it earlier, I can't think of anyone who doesn't want to do better if they're handed how. And it's got to be holistic, and quality will out every time. Quality of life every time.
Final question from National Press Club CEO Morris.
Thanks, Maggie. It's been terrific having you. I want to see where you fit in the worldwide debate about scrambled eggs.
I love that question. Is there more?
The politely spoken Gordon Ramsay says you must season your scrambled eggs after you've cooked the eggs, and where there's a huge body of international chefs, cooks and similar who say you do it beforehand. Where are you in this debate?
All right. Okay. Well, first, before I talk about seasoning, I'll say the way to give beautiful scrambled eggs for residents in the dining room, even if you've got 120, is to have 16 eggs to a litre of cream.
Yeah.
No milk, right? Okay? That's number one. And do it in the combis, it can be done, but the seasoning after. Because it's like when you're cooking mushrooms, if you season the mushrooms with salt early, they go tough.
I can see you and Gordon just like that.
Oh, no. Sorry, Gordon.
Stay there, Maggie. That wraps up a wonderful speech. On behalf of the Press Club, we have a membership for you, so you can have a glass of wine and some more free-range pork at your leisure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.